Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll just
right.
go back to talking about who we know.
I feel like because having done the boozy book browsing, I feel like we need to have a little intro. So I'm going to intro Miss
Oh, you're
Sophie
wonderful.
Sullivan.
Yeah, you're wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Who invited me to come talk with her this evening for Love Sweet Arrow. So if you're tuning in or you're popping on later, thank you for watching. Click the like button below. We always appreciate that. So Sophie here, she just had her latest rom-com come out in January, and it's called A Guide to Being Just Friends.
Yep. Which I called it the wrong name for like the first 6 months.
I'm impressed. I just pulled that out of my.
You did. I'm very impressed.
I think it's because I'm seeing it everywhere, which is great. I'm seeing it.
It's fantastic. I'm also very impressed by how smooth your intro was. I'm like, you just pulled that out. You're so natural.
All the improv training. So she asked me if I wanted to come and talk with her, and I said yes. So.
Because your book comes out next month, right?
That's true. So yes, Too Wrong to Be Right will be out February 28th. And it's in that weird little space where I'm never sure if people consider it a February release or a March release.
Yes.
Yes. Day. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. Yes, it's here next month. Today is the 1 month.
Yeah, that's right. 28th.
So 1 month. Here we go. The countdown begins. And speaking of, I'm going to do this quick plug right now since I'm already talking.
Do it.
Because we're here with Love Sweet Arrow. If you pre-order Too Wrong to Be Right from Love Sweet Arrow, I will sign it. I will personalize it however you want. And you're also going to get oodles of goodies. And I actually just got some of them.
I love goodies. I want to see them because you had the most adorable corgi stickers last time, right?
Yeah, so you're going to get some hedgehog stickers. And of course, you get a little bookmark, whatever. It's cute, whatnot. But I'm also, because they bake Kalachki cookies in the story. So I had this really cute artwork commissioned. You can't see it right now, but it's of them.
Who did that?
Who did my Kalachki recipe on the back.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. And then these were specially commissioned from a friend of my daughter's who's an artist. You're going to get these art prints, these adorable hedgehog art prints. And there's a quote on the back of the book. These are so cute. So there's 3 of them. Oh my gosh. There's this one with the hedgehog in a castle. And she's wearing.
Goodness. She's wearing a tutu.
And then there's this one where there's the hedgehog is sleeping on her donut bed.
Because why wouldn't she be?
It's so cute. So you get all 3 art prints, the collage card, and there's actually some really cute stickers as well.
Let's see your stickers.
Stickers.
Nice. Nice. I love stickers. I did little stickers for
show us.
Haley's by the cup.
Oh, cute.
So just by the cup.
I know. I'm a sticker fiend, so I was only going to do those.
I love them.
But then I was doing that, and then I ended up getting these really cute, I think it's called kawaii, where they're the cute little.
Oh, I love those. Where did you get? Okay, you have to tell me where you're getting these things because I love them.
This I had an artist make these for me, and then I ordered stickers. Yeah.
Wow.
They're really,
that's
really
fantastic.
Fun. So cute. So you get all that stuff if you pre-order from Love Sweet Arrow. So
okay, well now I have to order from there, which is going to have to come across like a different country and all the way across.
But if you pre-order it anywhere, you will get a bonus digital story. It's called, I haven't actually announced the title yet, but I'll announce it here. It's called 2 Days Till I Do.
Oh, is it the couple from your first? This is the second one in the series, is that right?
So you'll see when you read the book.
Okay.
It's one of the couples from Too Good to Be Real and Too Wrong to Be Right, but you will know when you read it.
Is this the second of 3?
No, I'm only doing the 2. That's why I wanted to read this little novella, 2 Days Till I Do. So we'll get to and that's a hint. You'll get to see the other that doesn't get
I love the titles. I have the first one. I had 2 beautiful copies of the first one, but my oldest daughter is that she has more books than some libraries. She's got a thing for ARCs. So when I got an ARC of yours as well, I was like, you can have it. Because I mean, I love them too, but for me, it's like, I want to finish. I love the spines, but she has like a whole ARC shelf. So
That's
She was
awesome. And it's like, it's so much fun if your daughter's into it to let her have it. To let her
yes. Well, she's very into it. She's got a book coming out in summer 2024. So
That's awesome. So can
yeah.
you give her a plug? So what is her
Yeah.
book?
Her name is Kaylee Holford, and her book is The Last Love Song. It's coming out from Blackstone Publishing, July 2024. So young adult romance. So it's
That's
pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you and Anne Marie. Do you know Anne Marie Walker?
Yes, I know of her, and I have a few of her books, but I haven't
So
actually
Anne Marie
met her.
Walker also has a daughter who's an author. So you should do
Oh,
like mother-daughter like group.
we should. Oh, I should reach out to her. That's fine. I'm getting better at reaching out. I asked you all by myself. But I had to ask Helena through our publicist, because we have the same publicist. I'm like,
Right.
She's
yes.
like, do you want me to do it? Or I'm like, sure, yeah, you can do it. So
Yeah, Helena, because she's with Macmillan too, right? Right. Because
she is.
When the summer that my first books came out, we did a really fun event at the Strand. That was oh my goodness.
We went there for the first time last summer.
Yeah, that was one of those bucket list moments because
Yep.
it was me and Sonali Dev and Alicia Rai and Helena.
Wow.
And I forget and one more. Well, there was one more author with us. Yeah, there was 5 of us, and we had the room was packed.
That's amazing.
And we got to sign the wall at the Strand. So it was
Oh my goodness.
one of those bucket list author moments where you're just like, oh my gosh, is this happening?
That is amazing. That is absolutely
course,
amazing.
Following like less than a year later, everything was shut down. So
Everything shut down.
very grateful to have that when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is fantastic.
More virtual events like this, which is it's kind of fun. That I know people get kind of burnt out, but I think it's fun, especially because not everybody lives like we were talking about.
Well, that's what makes it really nice, is it makes it a lot more accessible. If I think about, I mean, I'm positive there's more Vancouver-based authors than I'm actually aware of in the romance genre, but this makes it so that you can connect in ways that we couldn't before.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be here with you this evening. You're
glad to be here with you too.
I'm here in Chicagoland where it's been snowing nonstop all day.
Oh, I don't envy that. I was just thinking it is absolutely freezing here today. It's beautifully sunny, but it is absolutely freezing.
Yeah, no, we've had it was funny. We had a ton of snow right before Christmas, like more snow than we usually get, and then it was nothing, and then all of a sudden now we're getting it.
Yeah. When will it go away?
We've had snow in May, so you never know. Yeah, I think March is when it really starts. March is that the month of teasing where you'll get like 1 or 2 nice spring days, and then it's back to but we've had snowstorms in March is not uncommon at all. April, it's when it's starting to get less common.
Okay.
Once in a while, Mother Nature will just be like, ha ha.
Surprise.
In May. So honestly, we pretty much expected any time from October to May that we could get.
Yeah. And I'm not a huge snow fan either, but we get a lot of rain. And I think I'm really not sure if I prefer the rain or the snow, but I don't like either. But I really do we're the same, right? Like we get those spring days, but it is rain till May.
So where is your book set? The one that just came out in January?
Mine is set because I want to be somewhere else in California. So it is set. I created a fictional town. So it's on the actual town is not right on the water, but it's called San Verde. And in the first 2 books, in the first book, she was already living there, the main character, Everly. And then Chris came from New York actually to run the radio station. And so he had 2 brothers. One was younger. No, he's the youngest. So one, the second brother is the middle one, and he came in the second book. And then the third one is Wes, who came out from New York as well. So they're all settling there. But Haley is from California. She grew up in Hollywood. She grew up and she ended up working in a craft food services truck. So she was dating an actor, and really, she's really all about, she's opened this salad shop, which is a little bit different than the road I was thinking bakery when I first started, and they wanted something different. So that part was really, really fun. And it seemed to fit with the California vibes. So she's opening this store, and she's really focused on just doing this for her and not putting her dreams on hold for someone else who, you know, he went from getting bit parts to getting bigger parts, and then she was no longer part of his life. So
Oh yes,
yeah.
as soon as someone gets really successful.
Yeah. So and
oh, what a jerk.
and Wes, of course, what is so in the first book and the second book, it more than alludes to the fact that their dad is really not a great guy. And so this is basically all three brothers getting out from under his thumb, but he's the oldest, and he carries a lot of weight, whether it's self-induced or not. And he is very much against feeling too much. He's very analytical, and he's an app creator. He's, you know, computer geek, loves gaming, and he's kind of the computer genius behind all of their stuff. And he's pretty sure he can control how he feels about Haley. So they decide to be just friends, and it doesn't work out exactly as they planned.
Of course it doesn't, because it's a romance.
No.
So
Yeah.
we were talking. So who falls first?
Definitely falls first, except that I think she just admits it. Like, I think he fell all the way along. So they have a disastrous meet cute. Actually, you always hear the word meet cute, and then somebody posted on Instagram yesterday saying this had the funniest meet ugly. I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so I haven't heard that. I use the term meet disaster for the meet.
Okay.
My current and Too Wrong to Be Right, because they meet over a corpse. So
wow. Yep, that's a disaster.
So I've heard meet disaster, but I haven't heard meet ugly, but I like it.
I like it too. I was like, that is adorable. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so he mistakes her for the online date, and she's just run next door for chocolate. And when he says, hey, I'll pay for that for you, she just thinks he's some good looking weird guy in a coffee shop. So she's like, I'm good. And the barista miswrites her name on the thing. So he's like, you're clearly who I think you are. She's like, that's not my name. And he thinks she's lying. And she's
she saw him and decided, I'm not interested in this.
Yeah, that's what he's pretty sure of. So yeah, so that's how they start. So it's a weird thing, right? Because I feel like sometimes when you see a rom-com, like say 2 Weeks Notice, they don't kiss till the very, very end. And you're okay with that. But when it's in a book, it feels different. And it feels like, you know, if you've written, I don't think there's a huge difference between romance and rom-com sometimes when I'm writing it. But I think in romance, you have those markers. It's like 25% they've kissed, 50% they're together, right? 75% they're breaking apart and then getting back together. But with this, it's like they can move the whole story without actually kissing.
I feel like rom-coms do have a different vibe, and in the Too Good to Be Real and now Too Wrong to Be Right have definitely had a different kind of pace when it comes to physicality of the romance. My other contemporary romances, which were much steamier, much more of that concept. I agree. And I think so this was my first Friends to Lovers book, the Too Wrong to Be Right. And I think that pushes that kiss even farther, because you have to that whole, so one of my, have you ever heard of the id list, authors making their lists of their kind of these little tropey things that just like light you up?
No, well, no, but I mean, I've talked a lot about different tropes that you love. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But the id list is something that kind of is just on like this, it doesn't even have to be a full trope. It could just be these little things that you're just like, oh, I love when this happens or that happens. And I love the kissing each other to just prove that there's nothing here.
There's no chemistry.
Right.
Yeah.
So like some kind of wonderful I'm Gen X here, obviously.
That is one of my favorite movies. We just watched it again the other day because it's always on one of the channels.
Yes, and the whole like, well, if you're gonna kiss someone, maybe you should watch on me.
Yeah, and that kiss, and guys are that's funny because we just like last Sunday, I think it was on, and when that moment when Watts kisses him, and I'm like, how does he not see this? How are you this obtuse? But that's what you want to catch in the box, right?
And the thing is, like, people can be, especially if you put somebody in a box mentally.
In a box.
Put this person in your life in this box, and to see them suddenly in a different box, he's focused on Amanda. Like we're talking about. But you know what? Because so like with this is so true. Like with Too Wrong to Be Right, you know, my heroine has kind of been like, all right, I need to focus on somebody, actually somebody more like Wes. Like she wants someone who is not emotional and is very kind of like in control and organized and responsible. She's like, I need that. I want that. I need to. And so she's like looking for that specifically. As like somebody, because she's kind of always been attracted to kind of like these kind of asshole guys who are you know and always kind of following her heart and other parts further south. And so she's like, no, I'm going to go for somebody, you know. And so Joe, who is the hero's brother, he's all those things. Joe is very much a Wes, you know, he's all these clean cut type, I make the, I make the joke, like, he's the one who's like, in the 3-piece suit, and his brother Mick is the guy who can't even match his socks,
which somehow is going to be the one
exactly. So that's the whole thing, where she's attracted to Mick, which immediately for her is like a no, like I'm not going to follow that instant
no, I'm not doing this again.
Exactly. I'm going to go with my brain, not with, but she can't help herself from liking this who he is, but she's trying to put him in that box of we're going to be just friends, like you said.
I think there are a lot of similarities, because I think that's what Wes is doing with Haley, right? And for him, he just does not want to see outside that box at all.
Mm-hmm. So he's even though he's attracted to her and he's falling for her, he's going to be like, nope, we're keeping this. So what is it? So they have that, meet ugly, like where it was miscommunication or what have you. So what happens that keeps them having to be in each other's orbits?
So this is where I love writing a series. And that's why I asked if you had 3, because whenever I do anything, I always think in 3s, and I don't necessarily mean to. I always think when I start, there's going to be 3. But when I start the actual writing is when the other characters start to come in, and, Noah came in naturally. That's Chris's brother. And then Wes came in a little more. And so doing the 3rd book was so nice because I could revisit that. So Haley's got this, business that she's just starting up and hoping that people buy into, and actually Stacy and Everly from book 1. So there's a radio station. That's what the first one is about. It surrounds this radio station, and Everly is a producer. Stacy is the voice, the DJ, and they come in and they really like it. And, Haley's kind of freaking out a little bit. Like, I don't want to ask you for a favor, but I really want to make really good salad so that maybe you'll enjoy this. And they end up, so because the 3 brothers have all moved there, Chris stayed at the radio station, and there's, they decided to go into business together, but they haven't found a place to actually have an office. So they've been meeting at the radio station. So Everly and Stacy, they're having a business meeting. They're like, hey, we found this really awesome salad shop. Let's order some salads, right? And of course, Haley's just starting. She doesn't have, skip the dishes or anything like that. So she delivers them herself, and she sees Wes in the meeting. So, and then he realizes, because of course the girls have met her just very briefly, and they're like, hey, Haley. And he's like, oh my God, her name actually is Haley, not Hayden. She wasn't lying to me. So then he's like, I was a jerk. And he also doesn't, he's not used to being wrong, because he's so measured and calculated about doing things right. And so when he realizes he's wrong, and then he realizes that, the 2 women who are going to be his sister-in-laws really like this woman, and they've already connected with her, he's like, it's looking like I'm going to apologize. So they start, that way. And then it turns out that, Haley's shop is next door to a bakery where Wes lives right down the street. And their friend is actually, the girl's friend is the owner of the bakery. So they're all kind of tied. And I love that about doing a 2nd or 3rd book, because you can do that. You can bring in all those ties from the other ones. So, and that's just exactly what you have to do, right? Is keep them in the orbit, like you said.
Yeah. And I kind of, so for me, because only the 2 books, but like the whole, like, it was 3 friends in the first book, but I kind of, with the 2nd book, one of the main plot lines is like, as this group of friends, they've been friends all through college and as their career started, but as these other progressions in their lives are happening, is like this start as you're finding you're like the person that you might eventually marry, and you might be starting families, so there's, both of her best friends have found their significant others and are moving in with them and making plans and getting engaged, and she's just like, not like that she's jealous of them, but jealous of being in that part of the journey.
ready to be in that place in her life,
afraid of being left behind and not having that connection and that friendship. So like, I created like this great friendship between these three, but then in the next book I'm pushing that, so I really, it's like I couldn't like rely on that as much as I maybe had wanted to, and there was actually several scenes of the three friends that ended up getting cut, which is
that's hard. Do you keep the little scenes
like,
in another folder?
Like, it's just such comfortable writing for me, like writing their
it
things.
is.
It's like it wasn't moving the plot forward because they're just hanging out doing their thing and it's fun and their banter is great, but we need to get this moving.
There has to be a reason.
But at least it also, like, because she does, like, she works in a flower shop, and so it's those her those people that are the other part of her world that that she has, so we get to see those friendships instead and kind of seeing how.
So how does she meet the hero, or did they know each other before?
In a flower shop, and she has a last minute delivery she has to make at a funeral home.
The corpse.
So it was, the instructions were incredibly specific. It was that there was this like boutonniere basically that needed to be pinned onto the corpse, and she of course she has like a major, like, she does not do funerals, like she does the wedding, she doesn't do the funeral. There's reasons why that she really can't handle it, but there's for romance reasons, and also there's the circumstances that are well explained in the book, but I'm not going to get into now. She's the one that has to make this delivery, and nobody's around. She can't find anybody, so she's just like, I'm just gonna just do it. I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna think about, like, it's like pinning it on a groom who's stiff with nerves. Like,
oh my gosh. Okay.
So she's got her eyes closed, and she's like, and he's a hero who his family owns the funeral home.
Oh, wow. His
family owns the funeral home, and the funeral that evening is for a man, so it's his ex-wife and his current wife are both there, like the widows, and so there's these two warring widows who are kind of battling each other. And so he gets a sense that something's up, so he goes to check on the body and the casket, because the service is going to start soon, and he's woman in there messing around with the
hands in there.
What are you doing? So he's like, she's not paying attention, she's not listening, so he's like, stop, what are you doing, stop it. And she's like, I'm just going to, and they start fighting, and of course he almost falls into the casket, so he stops her from landing on the body, and of course she instead lands on him.
And
there we go.
That's perfect. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to ask, because when you describe the scene, I can totally see it. And that's how people always ask, how do you start what's your process? How do you start your books? And when I start, I usually have this scene, and it's generally, by halfway through, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was not enough to write a book on, but I have this like scene that I can vividly picture the way you just described yours. And that's been the case for pretty much all of my books. Is that what you did? Cause it feels like, that scene is
very much, that's what, like you said, like there's like this perfectly like three-dimensional, fully like alive,
like a movie
moment will come into my head, and like you said, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, but then as you start writing, I'm like, oh
yes,
but it definitely will happen. Like with my very first novel, Getting Hot with the Scot, like the moment of this woman like hearing some noise, like she's in a Scottish castle on a tour, and she hears weird, and she finds some guy in a kilt hidden in the wall. And she's like, of course, because she loves all the historical romance, and she's had a little bit of whiskey from a whiskey tasting.
Yeah,
She's
makes
just
sense.
like, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
my Jane Fraser. Like it's really happening. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, and of course it's not, but like that scene, that whole scene where she finds him and he's basically like, you know, kind of like playing along with this idea that he is from some character from the past, and then psych. she's part of a practical joke.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's basically like a punked episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she, so that, I mean, but that whole thing, the whole like moment, and they're like, and she's like, I mean, he's here, I'm here, what the hell? And she like grabs him.
It's supposed to be like this, right? Like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that, how come so many romantic comedies are built around mortification?
So I actually have, I've just discussed this quite at length. So
you have, okay.
I teach a workshop on the Meet Cute. I teach a whole workshop on kind of
I didn't know that. You do so many things.
The verisimilitude and also the just the whole like background and backbone of the Meet Cute. But people talk about like the cringe factor. Like why do these people have to embarrass themselves? Why is it something that you're falling or getting spilled on, or it involves humiliation in some way? Why does this happen? And some people get really upset about it and don't like it, and some people think that secondhand embarrassment makes them uncomfortable. But for me, I feel like the reason why so many Meet Cutes, especially in rom-coms, have that like cringe factor, the humiliation factor, is because it makes the character vulnerable. And it makes them vulnerable in a moment in which they're meeting the love interest. So the love interest is seeing that vulnerability right from the get-go. So
seeing them at their worst from the start.
And it's not just that, but then you get to really learn who a person is when you see how they act in that moment of vulnerability.
Yes.
So how a character handles themselves within that humiliation. You know what I mean? Like you think of like Notting Hill, the famous, you know, spill, whatever.
Yeah.
All that all plays out. And you know, how those characters kind of function within that moment. And I think like seeing how someone handles themselves in that moment tells the other character a lot about that person.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely, I think that's absolutely right. And it's funny because just in edits and things like that over the course of years, it's been like, okay, well, what characters, like when you said you were talking about, you had those scenes with the three friends and stuff, I've really learned that as much as I love the secondary characters, their real purpose, right, is to do things that give your character a chance to respond and react, because that's how the readers see who they are in different moments. So again, it's that kind of how they're connecting.
Yeah, that's like who they are in different moments. But it's such a, as an author, that's such a delicate balance, because like for me, I really want my secondary characters, and not just because I think I might write a story for them later, but because I want them to kind of like be their own people. I don't want them to just serve the primary.
You want people to be like that. I could be friends with that person, right?
Right. Like, well, yeah.
Just like the hero.
Like on like in like the technical functioning level, they do have to, like you said, like, so in this story, the grandmothers of both main characters play a significant role, and that really helps us see these characters in a different way. Especially, who is a hot mess, and she is probably my most disliked character I've ever written. Like, she is.
Wow.
A lot of people do not like her.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's fascinating to me to see how the response happens.
Yeah.
I want to do a TikTok with Taylor Swift's I'm the problem, it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be fantastic.
But she loves her grandmother so much, and she does all of these things for her, and there's such a connection to her. So it's like, you know, but it's interesting, like even with all of that, like people are just like, I hate her.
You know, it's funny that you brought up Taylor Swift in that, because I have daughters just like you do. One is 16 and one turned 20 today, so it's Kaylee's birthday. And of course, the 16-year-old is going through high school things, because that's what happens. And it's all, I mean, different but similar to when we were young, and she spends a lot of time thinking about quotes, and we're all obsessed with Taylor Swift. And she said that one of the things she loved most that Taylor Swift said, and I'll wreck the quote, but just along the lines of, when people are criticizing you, that's when you know you're doing something right, because you're pushing these boundaries, and they're pushing back against what you're doing, because it's like, no, that's it's out of their comfort zone, right? And isn't it interesting that that's the people still want to, they're still engaged, whether it's reality TV or shows, right? Like if you think of soap operas, like who are the best characters on soap operas? It's the ones you hate the most, right? It's like, I hate her, but she says everything I wish I could.
I think that's a great point. And also like, right, because if you're drawing those kind of strong reactions out of people, you're doing something right, because they're invested, whether it's a good or bad, they're invested. So yeah. But all interesting. I think part of it is that my hero Mick is he's my Nick Miller. Do you know from New Girl?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you were doing the kiss where you were like, we're just kissing to see, and I was actually, the thing that popped in my mind was the kiss when he's like, we'll just do it. And
that whole thing, like, I kind of give it a little bit of an homage because like it takes them so long to finally, like, because they get to that point where they're almost so there is a bit of that like build up and fall back and build up and fall back. Finally just do it. And of course he takes her breath away, this goofball out of nowhere. This romance,
the one she's not supposed to want.
So that 100% is in there, and because he is my Mick, I know Mick is my Nick.
Mick and Nick. That's okay.
Did that on purpose. Yes, he is. He is my goofy, awkward, kind of just trying to figure his own stuff out. Kind of hard. Doesn't always do a great job making good decisions. And I think Nick Miller even has a quote about like, if she starts treating me bad, that I'm like he'd go after her. Like that's like himself.
Exactly.
He is so good to Kat, and he falls first hard and fast, and she's just like keeping him in the friend zone, and he's like, you know what, if this is what she wants, I just want to be around her. I can, and I think for some people, they're like, how could she do that? Because you get to, I hardly ever do single POV. I almost always do double. So do I. Both. And so they're in his head and they're in her head. So they know how he feels, even though she doesn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How could you do this to him?
Because she doesn't know, and she's busy denying everything.
Exactly. Like she's like, yes, she's attracted to him, but that's the problem. Like
yes, that's the problem. It's got to be more, right?
Right. Yeah. And so I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, everything seems obvious to you when you're reading the story, but like if you're the person living the story, it's never obvious.
Well, and it's funny because when I was thinking of my publicist had said, well, are there some people you'd like to meet with? And I was like, oh, I really enjoyed chatting with you when we did it. What is it called? Meet Cutes? Because we chatted about
Meet Cutes. Yeah.
Right. And so it's funny because and it's funny because when you're saying that, it's like, I really did not believe we had a meet cute until we started talking about it, right? Because when you do think about it, it's like, it's not what you think it's going to be. And a lot of these things, and people are very vocal about what they like and don't like in books, and it's like, no, that's not how it would happen. It's like, well, actually, this is,
that's the part, right? Because I feel like for a lot of people who make these kind of blanket statements about, oh, that's not how that works, that's not it's like, okay, this is not what has happened to you, but it has happened to someone else somewhere else. And love at first sight does exist, whether it's happened to you or not to you. I mean, yes, there's lust at first sight as well. People like those meet cute stories that I'm still doing those, actually.
I love them. It's so funny.
Fun. And what is fascinating is how often the truth is stranger than fiction. Either it's the author themselves who met someone like when they were on tour in England or wherever and fell in love while they were abroad. and just kind of like went for it, within this like 2-week relationship or whatever, and
Yeah.
then still together 20 years later.
Yeah.
So it happens a lot.
And they don't think of that because our minds are geared that way. They don't think of that. Like, people have told me stories of how they met, or, their relationships or whatever. I'm like, that's actually really good. Like, and it's funny because, like I said, I mean, I spend all of my time living in this world and thinking about these things. And I was so nervous, because I get nervous anyway, but I was nervous to talk to you because I'm like, I guess I'll just tell her how we met, even though we don't have a meet cute, because there's nothing cute about it. And then you were like, I think you do. So which is kind of funny, right?
If you want to watch what Sophie's talking about on Instagram, I'll try and add the link to the chat later.
Oh yeah, I could not, so I don't know.
I'll add the link to the chat here on YouTube, so you can go watch my interview with Sophie from Mad About Meet Cutes, and you can learn how she met her husband.
Yeah, it was apparently a very cute meet. A very long time ago. I don't quite know how time is passing so quickly.
It's wild. Well, I know, like you said, your daughter just turned 20 and mine will be turning 20 soon. So it's been, So actually this is because my husband and I started dating when I was 16. So we met each other at the mall, and we were across the hall from each other.
See, another Taylor Swift. I'll wait for you at the mall.
So this upcoming year, this summer, it'll be 30 years since
That's crazy.
That's wild. Like, that's crazy.
It is, right? Because when you're going through it, and especially those early years when you're starting to have kids and when things are harder, you're like, it does not feel like time is flying by. It feels hard and slow, and
then you blink and you're like, wait, what happened?
And all of a sudden, your parents telling,
I know. Like, so what, this was my first friends to lovers romance. So
I was gonna ask, because you said this is your first. When you decide to write, mine was kind of it was always heading that way for friends to lovers for that one, but do you decide your tropes first, or do you have that scene?
No, it was I was not planning, like, friends to lovers was not something I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write it this way, I'm gonna do this. So the weird thing was, so with this one, I really knew I wanted to play with the rom-com While You Were Sleeping.
Oh, I love that one so much. Oh, and the brothers, that's perfect.
Yes, so I really knew I wanted to play with that. Because with both books, I do a lot of nods to the classic rom-com.
Yeah.
Little nods to those classics. And I wanted to do that in this one. And so I always knew there were going to be two brothers. I always knew I wanted her to kind of like, because, in While I Was Sleeping, she's so set on this idea that he is her dream man, that he is the one, and it's the other one that ends up being the one. And so I wanted that so I knew I wanted those pieces. I wanted those pieces, and then how that all actually played out kind of happened more organically. And the thing that's so interesting to me is that it's the whole her dating the one brother and then falling for the other brother, that people are like, how could she, and his brother? I'm like, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point, right? And that's the thing. And I think it's really interesting too, because that whole time that she is taking care of the brother in While You're Sleeping, it's like we really build up what we think of people, and Finney was nothing like we thought. So
well, right. And so I think maybe that makes it easier, because like we know that in While You Were Sleeping, like we the audience know, oh, this other guy's just a total jackass, like he's not worthy of her. And but like there's no, like, neither of my brothers are villains, it's just they're very different people. And
absolutely.
And it like they reach a point where they're like, there's no spark, there's no chemistry here.
Do they kiss?
No, she does not kiss the other brother.
Okay.
No, they do.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the well, I guess I kind of do. I was thinking about the similarities again, because the whole time they decide, they put each other in those boxes, you said, and then around Christmas time they go to this party and he's bought her this dress, only you won't admit that he's bought her this dress. and she's like a little tipsy, and she kind of looks up and she's like, I wish there was mistletoe. And that's kind of like her reveal that, it's not so.
Mistletoe,
the box is opening, but there's no mistletoe. And he kisses,
oh no.
yeah, he kisses her anyway. And it's kind of like, once you do that, there's no, pushing everything back in the box. So.
Well, right. And that's kind of but that's so maybe that's the thing. Like there was this physicality and there's connection. But again, for her, it was all of that stuff is the stuff that she's trying to avoid. I am not going to touch my vagina, lead the way. Like,
yeah. Going with my head this time.
Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, so I don't really plan out the tropes so much as like
same.
Other little like, especially with these again, because like those classic rom-com moments that I really, and it was so funny because when I first was drafting this, and there is a moment in which someone does end up in the hospital with a concussion.
Okay.
And I play with it, and at first I played with the whole idea of his family thinking that they were engaged, but then I pulled back on that. I ended up pulling back on it because it just wasn't working right. But but I do like actually where she's like, am I going to have to pretend that we're engaged so I can go see him? And like, no, the hospital they don't care. Like they don't care. She just has to say which room she wants to go see.
Yeah.
And like, if there's none of that, like she's waiting, expecting there to be like this, like I'm going to have to pretend to be his fiance.
All these hoops to jump.
Yes. And nobody cares.
Do you have a favorite trope when you're reading?
Oh, so I was just doing this for St. Martin's. They're asking about like your favorite trope, and my favorite is the fish out of water. I think it comes back to that whole vulnerability. It comes back to this, being in a situation in which you are not comfortable, that you are actually forced to rely on other people. And like obviously, one of my favorites is the time travel romances where you have the big alpha Viking or Scott or whoever who's in the future and is like, what is happening? What is airplanes, cars? And he's just like, ah. So seeing them in this kind of out of their element, used to always being in control and needing someone, obviously the heroine usually, to help them
to navigate.
And when not in that kind of situation, also you have the fish out of water stories where it's someone who is like thrust into a situation in which like it's not their normal, like, so whether they're moving to a new place, like the Bride Test, where she's coming over, and kind of like so a different culture and family and kind of finding your footing and figuring out.
Yeah, that's funny because the series I'm working on now, my next release with St. Martin's is next February. And so I'm in the middle of edits for Love Naturally. And it is a real fish out of water, which I've never really, again, just kind of like with you and the Friends trope, I never really intended to write one. And I had that opening scene. She buys her boyfriend this, she's a very much a city girl. They're living in Michigan. She's a hotel concierge. She's trying to move up the ladder and she wants that next step in their relationship. So she buys him a trip to a fishing lodge thinking I'll show him that, I can share his interests. And he dumps her before they break up before she goes. So basically she goes to this fishing lodge and it's turned over hands and she ends up falling for the owner's brother. And, but it's very much that situation. She's out of her element and trying to decide is, clearly that wasn't who I was truly either. And this is definitely not who I am. So, my someone in the middle and
city girl having to function in the country.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
So funny. So this is like we talk, because when we talk about like, so my parents, my mom was definitely a city girl, grew up in Skokie in the suburbs of Chicago, and my dad was a country boy. He grew up like in Alabama on a farm, and after they were first married, he brought her down there to meet his family. Yeah, and he could not sleep because of the crickets and
quiet. Oh, the cricket. Yeah, I was gonna say the quiet, right?
And he's like, "What you like? They're like trains and cars honking."
Traffic, yes, because it's soothing. Yes, It's so true. When I was growing up, because we live, like I said, about an hour and a half from Vancouver, and it's, I mean, where we live, it's in a quiet neighborhood. But when I was growing up, we lived next to a main street. It wasn't a highway, but it was a very main street. So, if I couldn't sleep at night, it was listening to the cars go down that road and listening to the train. And it was like, okay, there's that comfort in that. And when we moved out here, I'm like, there's nothing. The odd coyote, and then you're like, I don't want to be a coyote.
So that sounds like a lot of fun. So that you said it's called
Love Naturally. Yeah, and so there'll be 3 in that one as well. I'm really excited. I feel so lucky to be doing these books with St. Martin's, and people seem to really enjoy them, which is really nice. And I signed a third series with them as well, which will be holiday books. So I'm working on one of those as well. Yeah. But again, it's always that main scene, right? Where you hope, okay, can I build a whole book out of this?
Yeah. Like I know. And it's like because those come to you as gifts. And that's the thing. It's like those
do
as gifts, and the hard work comes after, like the hard work of figuring out the details. That's the work as the writer, is trying to figure all the rest, fill in the rest of the colors.
Yes. And it's hard too, because now I'm in the editing process, and I think about guide and writing that. And I had I think 30 to 40,000 words of this story written, and it just was not moving the way I needed it to. It was not, when right? Like, when something is right, and it wasn't. So I didn't want to, but I just restarted. And I know I did this just a year and a half, 2 years ago. And yet when I got the edits for Love Naturally, I'm like, what happened? I don't know how to do any of this, like it's the work, right? And it's like, okay, I did this with this one turned out, it's okay, but it's really hard to go back, and you feel like you've created this world. You made that opening scene work for 300 pages. So you don't want to go back and tamper with that.
And I think you would think that the writing gets easier, but I think it actually gets harder, because the more you do it, the more you know. And like the more, I feel like the more you learn, like the more you're like figuring out like all the things that you have to like fix. And it's
I agree. It does feel like that. I keep thinking, you know what, this should be easy. I'll just whip off that book. I know what I'm supposed to bring in. I know, where the moments are supposed to be, and that can't happen just yet. But it just, every book is different, but every one of them, it's like just pushing to make, and you always want to make the next one better too, right? Like I really, with a new series, I loved writing this series so much. I enjoyed it so much, and I know readers enjoyed it, which was just beyond wonderful. But I want them to enjoy the next one too, right? Like there's nothing, like that's the best part as a reader. And I love romance so much that when you go and you're like, okay, I love that series so much, I'm never going to forget it. And now I need the next series from that author, and I need it to be just as good in a different way.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. I mean,
but that's a lot of pressure. So what are you working on? You said you were working on something.
I am working on, we'll see. I mean, this is the whole kind of like, the option material. So like, we'll see if, my editor seems to really like it. So I don't want to talk about it yet, because it's very much, we'll see what happens phase, but I'm really excited about it. I really like more rom-coms with more very quirky animals, but completely different, characters and kind of different themes and stuff, moving away from the classic rom-com stuff that I was doing, and into something else that I will not mention yet, again, because we'll see what happens, but fingers crossed.
Isn't it funny though, because what I didn't realize I've been with other publishers as well, and not that I don't know if Entangled is actually traditional or not, but they certainly put their books out quicker. So I didn't really know until I got to St. Martin's that, these things that you're doing right now, whatever it is you're developing, you're looking at 2 years, right, for that to come out. And it's so weird, because you don't realize that when, as a reader, certainly. Right. But even as an author, in certain cases, I was like, okay, well, this will be out. And then you start looking at dates and you're like, wow, this is, it's going to be a while.
Well, for me, that's always a problem, because I'm like, oh, it's so far away. Like I can just, and then I like things.
Then you blink again. Then you blink and your kid is 20. So
Yeah. And like I definitely am someone who likes to have things just simmer for a while and the characters
yes.
kind of do their thing in the background of my brain.
Yep.
So,
I do that at night, especially when I am like with the editing piece, because I find that really hard for me, and to reshape, I'm scared to pull it apart, right? And so a lot of times when I'm in that editing process, I spend time with them. I just lay down and I'm like, okay, I'll think about where they're at now. What are they doing? And how could this work differently? And I find that really helps to sort of map it out.
yeah.
But
Okay.
meanwhile, you're not actually writing.
But yeah, that's the thing. So
Yeah.
so Guide to Being Just Friends just came out in January, and then so the next one we'll see is in February.
Next February. Yeah, I
February
do have
2024.
a cozy mystery coming out under, because of course I write under Jodie Holford as well, which a lot of people don't know, but I do have a cozy mystery coming out in May. But yeah, my next rom-com from St. Martin's comes out in February. So, and then you've got yours coming out this February,
Yeah, and we'll
with
see
some
what
amazing pre-order swag.
Yes, with my amazing pre-order swag. Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah, you
so
can
yeah.
pre-order that. You can pick up Jodie's book also. You can get them both, and get so you can have get them both.
Yeah, so I guess we should wrap up. I'm gonna go take my 20-year-old out for dinner.
Oh yes, again, happy birthday to her. That's
Thank
very
you. Thank you. Thank you for meeting up with me. You're very easy to talk to. It's fun.
Of course, no problem. It's anytime. So congratulations on your latest release, and I'll see you around.
Thank you. All right. I look forward to sharing